Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to change the freeze plug and motor mount on a 2nd gen Dodge Ram. It's going to be the same process for the 5.2 and 5.9 liter gas engines. Make sure you grab your safety glasses and let's get started. Before you start, go ahead and remove the radiator cap. This is going to allow any air trapped in there to get out and allow the fluid to flow out faster. Coming to the driver's side, you're going to see at the bottom of the radiator, you can see there's a turn valve here. It's a good idea to go ahead and take a piece of hose and put it on that valve. That way it creates less mess. Lock it into place, under your hose here. Turn the valve counterclockwise, and you'll see the fluid will start draining out. So just go ahead and let that drain. And once it comes to a slow drip, go ahead and close the valve. Alright, so coming under the truck, you can see I do have a leak up here. And from what I can tell, it looks like it's coming from behind the motor mount, so I'm going to have to remove that. First thing I'm going to do is remove this bracket that connects to the motor mount to the transmission. And this is going to be a 1/2 inch for this bolt. Move that out of the way. All right, next we're gonna remove the bolt that holds the motor mount. This is gonna be a 13/16, at least on my truck it is. All right, so on this side of the motor mount, I'm just gonna put a 18mm socket just to hold it from spinning. And I did soak these in penetrating fluid overnight, so that will help you. Okay. Alright, so next what we're going to have to do is just lift the engine just a little bit to get the tension off this bolt so we can pull it out. Alright, so I use a piece of wood to distribute the weight, and I have it more slightly so on the passenger side since that's the side I want majority of the weight to come off of. So you don't want to crank it up, you really just want to lift it until you see the bolt slightly come loose on the motor mount. Alright, you can see that the bolt is moved up a little bit when I'm just push it through and it'll slide right out. That. And then now we're going to have to remove these 2 bolts here. And these are going to be 1/2 inch. And then the last bolt we got to get is right here, and it's going to be a little bit harder to get to, and you're going to have to use a wrench. Alright, so how I was able to get this one loose was I used a 1/2 inch wrench and a 1/2 inch socket wrench together, and it gave me enough leverage to loosen that bolt up. And then now you can just take your time and loosen that bolt. These types of wrenches will make this part a lot easier if you have one. Alright, once you got it loose, you can go ahead and move the motor mount out of the way. Might take some wiggling to get it to come down. You may need to give it a little bit more of a jack. Okay. And just pull it up out of the way. Might take some wiggling. Eventually you'll get it to where it'll come out. Alright, now that the motor mount is out of the way, now I got clear access to all 3 plugs. It's also a good idea to open up this drain right here. This is going to be your blocked coolant drain, and I believe it's a 9/16. However, I'm just going to punch a hole in one of the freeze plugs and let it drain out that way. It's also a good idea to go ahead and take a wire brush and a vacuum and clean up the area as much as you can before you start changing the plugs. There will still be some fluid in the block, so if you are able to get it off, go ahead and take it off, but as soon as I open this up, some fluid's going to fall out, so just make sure you have a pan underneath to catch it. And one of the ways to take this off is to just take an extension and put it right up against the top of the freeze plug and then just take a hammer and then just hit on the back side of the extension, and then it'll flip out. So I'm gonna show you an easier way with the air hammer. Alright, majority of it's come out. So now I'm just gonna hit the top of it with the chisel side, with the chisel attachment, and then just hit it at the top, and then it should flip out of there. Drain a little bit more. So the plug's pushed in a little bit, but all you have to do is grab some pliers and pull it out. Just like that. Go ahead and clean up the surface real good. You vacuumed it earlier, it does make this part a little bit easier. Take a little piece of 220 sandpaper and just lightly clean that up around the edge. Take your finger and fill it if you feel any rough spots. Clean it a little bit more. And then you're ready to put your plug back in. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this one out too, since I got the chisel out. Get your bucket ready in case any more fluids in there. And then pull that one out as well. And then just clean up this surface the same way you did that one. Another thing too is kind of reach in here and you'll feel there's a lot of gunk. You can go ahead and scrape all that out as well while you're in here. That way it keeps the block clean. Get some of that rust out of there. Just move your finger around there. Just pull it all out. And you'll feel when it's clean. You'll feel smooth in there. And that'll just help that circulation get around your block better. Alright, so they're all cleaned up and ready for the new plugs. Alright, so I got the new plugs. I'm going to be going with brass just because they are rust resistant. As you can see, these are the old ones. They're pretty rusted up. The newer ones are a little bit deeper, but that shouldn't matter. There's plenty of room inside the block, so really the only thing that you really need to worry about is the width. And the part number on these is 565030. So what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to take a 1 1/8 inch socket, and that fits perfectly in there like that, an extension. And what I'm going to do is you could just hammer this in. This is just an extra one I have, so you don't want to use this if it's the only one you got, as it might break it. They do sell a tool that will push these in, but I don't have it right now, and the local parts store didn't have one in stock, so I just made my own. Basically what you want to do is take some of this ultra red gasket maker. This is for high temp, and you're just going to put a thin layer all the way around the outside. Thin layer on it, go all the way around. Just take and rub it around the rim. And take your tool, and let's go put it on. Alright, take a little bit of the RTV and also put it around here. Just a thin layer. Fill in any of those holes or scratches if you had any. And that'll help keep it from leaking also. Just push it up in there and get it started. Okay, just get it started. And I'm going to use my air hammer to push it all the way in. If you don't have an air hammer, you can use a regular hammer and just hit the end of the extension until it goes flush with the engine. And then remove any of the excess sealant that was pushed out when you push the plug in. Alright, so I got both freeze plugs in that were leaking, and I got them as flat against the block. And the last plug's going in. All the new freeze plugs are in, and they're bottomed out as much as I could get them in. If you ended up draining the block with the drain plug, go ahead and put some sealant on the drain plug and screw it back in. All right, once you got your freeze plugs in, go ahead and put your motor mount back in place. Same way you took it off. Okay, just get it in place. And I'm just gonna put my bolt in there for now to hold it. I'll tighten up the block bolts. Okay, so just get them all semi-tight, and then I'm gonna torque them all down, and then I'll let the engine rest on the bolt for the engine mount. So go ahead and tighten these up first. Just get it tight. Tighten it up. That's good. Alright, now we're just gonna drop the jack, and then that way that'll sit down where it needs to sit. Put your bolt back on. Go ahead and tighten your mount back up, and make sure you have the 18mm on the other side to hold it and spinning. Right there. Alright, there we go. Then go ahead and reinstall the bracket on your transmission and the motor mount. Get it started by hand first. Let's get it lined up, and then we'll snug them up. Alright, and let that set overnight, and then tomorrow we'll fill it with fluid. Alright, so it's the next day, and I let the sealant cure for 24 hours per the instructions. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and fill it up. Since we drained the block, it's going to take around 4 gallons of antifreeze to refill the system. You're going to let the truck run for about 10-15 minutes until the truck gets up to operating temperature. At that point, the thermostat's going to open up and allow the fluid to flow through to the radiator. So you're going to want to make sure there's plenty of antifreeze in the funnel to avoid getting any air pockets in your cooling system. Something else you can do to speed up the process is go ahead and give a couple squeezes to your upper hose, and that'll get out some of the air in the system. As you can see, once the truck gets up to operating temperature, you'll start to see bubbles bubbling up in the funnel. Once the bubbles stop, go ahead and remove the funnel and replace your radiator cap. It's also good to check your overflow tank and make sure it's full. And you're good to go. All right, well, that's how you change the freeze plug and motor mount on a 2nd gen Dodge Ram. If you found the video helpful, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.